Welcome. I'd like to show you some things about basic ground manners for every horse. And I'm going to show you not just what those ground manners are, but how to teach them to your horse. Because if I just showed them to you and you didn't know how to show them to your horse, that really wouldn't help you very much. Someone told me once, young men tell you what to do and old men tell you how to do it. So that tells you something there. So here are the 9 things that I'm going to teach you how to teach your horse. First, cluck means go, leading, backing up, lunging around you correctly, yielding the hindquarters, yielding the forequarters or the shoulders, how to pick up the horse's feet and properly for him to let you pick up his feet, how to drop his head, give him a head down cue, get him to drop his head, and then finally how to get your horse to stand quietly, stand tied quietly. So that's 9 things, and we'll do 3 of them on each video. This is part 1, and I'm using this colt named Dutton. He's a yearling, believe it or not. He's a big boy, isn't he? He's about 15 hands, and he's only 17, 18 months old. And I've done 8 or 9 sessions with him on this stuff, and some of it he's pretty good on, and some of it he's not very good with. But I'll show you how to teach it nonetheless. So the first thing is cluck means go. Now I do this in the round pen with no rope on the horse. And I do it by clucking and then spanking the ground behind the horse with this stick. So I'll cluck, usually I'll point first. Point, cluck, and then spank the ground. Okay, that got his attention. And if you'll do that, to me it's really important. Let me see how he does. Good. So he learned that. I did this on the first day. And I've got several videos. If you'll go back, I have a video on colt starting part 1 where I taught that to a colt. I have another one, Wild Mustang training with Silver Day 1. Both of those I did just teaching that horse cluck means go. And that's pretty important. I don't cluck 27 times. I do it once. Because to me, if you do it over and over, you're teaching the horse to ignore it. That horse gets 1 cluck, and if he doesn't go, then he gets a tap on the behind. Okay? And cluck to me means go, and it also means speed up. So if he's walking and I cluck, that means trot. And he's got that figured out pretty well. Second thing is getting your horse to lead properly. Now, we call it leading, we don't call it pulling. And so a lot of people, you'll see them, going along and they're doing this, dragging their horse along. That's not leading, that's pulling. And that means your horse doesn't understand what it is he's supposed to do. He should follow me with a nice little slack in that rope. Now, Dutton is not doing it too well because I was working on the backup quite a bit yesterday, and it got him a little bit unclear about what I wanted him to do. And so he was thinking backup instead of lead. He was leading pretty well when they brought him to me. So it's not a big deal, we'll fix it. So that's pretty good right there. If your horse is dragging behind you, the way to fix that is to put them up against a fence, and I'll show you here. Put them up against a fence like this, and take your training stick, or whatever you have. If you didn't have one, I guess you could use a broomstick. Give that horse a cluck, and if he doesn't move, just tap him right there on the hindquarters, like that. And pretty soon that horse will figure out that he needs to follow you without you dragging on him. Okay? And then a lot of people's horses will pull ahead of them. I hate that. I mean, maybe you don't care if your horse drags you across the yard. I hate it. To me, it's very disrespectful. And the way you fix that is either pulling that horse around. If the horse gets ahead of you, you can just pull him around like this. To me, that doesn't work as well. Depending on how pushy the horse is. If that horse is really pushing ahead of you, then I'll bump on the halter and back that horse up. Slow him down by bumping on that halter like that. I might even take my stick and tap him on the chest, or even tap the snap on that halter. I'll do something to teach that horse. For me, I don't want my horse's head past my shoulder. I mean, there's a little bit of leeway there. Some people might like it a little better. But if he gets ahead of my shoulder, to me, he's trying to be the leader instead of letting me be the leader. Okay? And the third thing I'll show you on this video is backup. There's several ways that I believe a horse needs to back up from the ground. And really, part of this is just basic manners. It's like teaching your child to say please and thank you. But it's also preparing them for riding, okay? So the first way that horse should back up is just pick up on that halter and put a little pressure on his nose. See, I'm not pulling hard there, okay? And he's backing up, and you release each step. Touch, release, that's pretty good. Touch, release, all right. Second way that horse should back up, and again, you don't have to do it this way, it's the way I like to do it. If I wiggle that lead rope, then I want him to back up. And he's not doing it very well, so add a little bit more wiggle. There, that was better, okay. A lot of horses will have trouble with backing up in the beginning. It's just not something that they do naturally, and it's a very submissive thing for a horse to back up. So when you ask them to do that, it means something to them. Back on up, there we go. And I'll tap him here on the leg if I need to, all right. The other way that I want my horse to back up is if I'm leading him, okay. Let me see if he'll go forward now that I've been backing him up. He's like, okay, he's a little confused. All right, if I stop like this, then I want that horse to back up, okay? And if he doesn't, and you can also do this, by the way, if that horse is running ahead of you, is I'll just kick him like that lead mare would do out in the pasture, like that. And I'm not likely to kick him enough to actually cause him any distress, but he gets the idea. Okay, so those are three things that really are important. Cluck means go, your horse needs to lead properly, and then backing up. So that's part one. Stay tuned for part two of this video, where we'll talk about lunging and moving the hindquarters and moving the forequarters.